Welcome to Modern Motoring. We are with the 2025 Subaru Forester e-BOXER Hybrid. That's a lot of words. We'll just call it the Subaru Forester Hybrid. It is all new for 2025, and let's get straight into it. I've been in BC for the past week with the car, doing about 2,000 kilometers worth through the Thompson-Okanagan region and the Kootenays. So I've got a pretty good feel for how the hybrid is. And if you recall from last year, my friend Clayton and I did the 5 Great Lakes in one day with the Subaru Forester, just regular gasoline version. All that to say is that I've had a lot of time in the 2025 Subaru Forester. Let's get into some numbers for the hybrid. So it's a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, 194 horsepower and 199 pound-feet of torque through a CVT, and yes, Subaru's all-wheel drive is still here. Compare that to the gasoline version, which gets 180 horsepower and 176 pound-feet of torque, except for the Wilderness, which gets 182 and 178. So again, a little bit of a lift here, and the battery is a 1.1 kilowatt per hour battery, and it's developed in partnership with Toyota. If you are looking at a hybrid, fuel consumption is going to be a key driver, so let's get into that. The hybrid gets 6.9 liters per 100 kilometers combined, and the gasoline gets 8.3. So there is absolutely and obviously some savings here with the hybrid. According to Natural Resources Canada, it's $434 less in fuel per year for the hybrid versus the gasoline. And it's the same 63-liter fuel tank of 87 octane. There's only one trim currently for the Forester Hybrid, and it's their top trim Premier, and it's the same thing that Honda did with the CR-V with the Touring trim when they put their hybrid out. And I think it was a year and a half later they introduced a mid-trim, and I feel Subaru will do the same, but as it's not quite a testing out phase, but it's the first time they've had a Forester Hybrid, e-BOXER Hybrid. I think they're slowly easing into it. Now in the States, there are 4 trims versus the 1 here. So I think it's just economies of scale where there's a lot more dealers and potential buyers in the States. So that's why they're getting 4. So I don't want to say for sure that there'll be more than 1 soon, but it would surprise me if it only stayed with 1. On the road, the Forester Hybrid feels stronger than the numbers on paper indicate. I know it's 194 horse, 199 pound-feet of torque, but after driving the Crow's Nest Highway and the Coquihalla Highway and Highway 3A and a bunch of others where there are a lot of climbs because, well, it's the Rockies and there's a lot of ups and downs and twists and turns, the Forester Hybrid has performed exceptionally well. I had never thought I don't have enough power to get up a steep mountain. And sometimes, yes, it's not an RPM gauge, it's your power gauge. It was right at the top because I had to really stomp down just to get a little bit of extra power to get all the way across. But aside from that, which is expected in the mountains, the Forester Hybrid has a lot of smooth power, not just power. I know this isn't a sports car and you're not going to be whipping it around turns or anything, but for a longer road trip and also some heavily urbanized areas, which I was also in, I gotta say that the Forester Hybrid has been very well engineered, and I wish it was here a couple of years earlier, but better late than never. Even at higher speeds, including the Coquihalla Highway, which has a speed limit in parts of 120 kilometers an hour, the road noise is pretty minimal, and still drives like a Forester, still feels like a Forester, but you have that battery power. Again, I know it's only 1.1 kilowatt hours, but it makes a difference, especially when you're descending. And I know this won't be for everybody, but I just took my foot off the accelerator and it clicked into EV mode. It charged up the battery as I was going down. Not a lot, but every little bit helps. And that's the beauty of a self-charging hybrid. And so in the city, as long as you're not responsible, I guess as long as you're aware of your conditions and you're not stomping down going from one red light to the next, you can hang out in fully electric mode for a little longer than you might expect. And again, that's all part of the allure of a self-charging hybrid. And I gotta hand it to Subaru. People, I hope, don't look at the numbers and look the other way. Now, this powertrain is supposed to also be in the upcoming Crosstrek Hybrid, and I think that'll be a hoot to drive because the Crosstrek is one full class lower and lighter and smaller. But I think Subaru did the right thing here, putting this powertrain into the Forester. It's done so well. and it's just been a joy to drive. Steering doesn't feel too loose, doesn't feel too tight. Yes, I wish there was a geared transmission. If I were to make any kind of suggestion going forward, I know it's not going to happen. I know Subaru is very heavily invested in the CVT. For a CVT, it drives surprisingly well. You don't have that numb and kind of lifeless feeling. There's a bit of a lively side to it when you need it. With this being the top trim, you get all the stuff and things that Subaru has to offer. So that includes an 11.6-inch infotainment screen, a very cool, finally fully digital instrument cluster at 12.3 inches. You get the 360 cam, you get cooled seats, you get heated rear seats, you get this big panoramic sunroof, you get the leather seats with the ultra suede inserts. You can tow up to 1,500 pounds with this hybrid Forester. And the one little drawback, and I don't know how impactful it will be, I hope it's not too impactful, but there is a tire repair kit instead of a physical spare tire. Subaru's consistently pushing people to take this off-road and a little more than cottage driveways, and it's got the chops to do it. And some of these types of drivers find a lot of value in a physical spare tire as opposed to a tire fill kit. Having said that, I'm sure Subaru tried everything they could to accommodate a physical spare tire, but what we have here in the hybrid is a tire repair kit. Another set of numbers to touch on is the gross vehicle weight rating, and the hybrid is only 200 kilograms or 440 pounds more than the gasoline version. So I would have thought it would have been a lot more, but good job on the Subaru engineering team for keeping it as contained as possible for the added weight. Let's touch on cargo space, and thankfully it's the same amount as it is in the gas for the hybrid. So it's still 779 liters with those rear seats up and 1,957 with those rear seats down. So if you choose the hybrid, you're not losing any of that valuable cargo space. Subaru's EyeSight suite of safety systems is still here, but the interesting thing is that only the hybrid gets the emergency lane keep assist, whereas every other trim doesn't. They still get all the other pieces of the EyeSight system. A little quirk here is that there are two e-BOXER badges on the exterior of the Forester, but they're in this cold silver/gray, and I would have thought for it being a hybrid, they would have gone with a green or a blue for the badging, but here we are, and that's really the only tell, and it's a pretty small sized badge. On the inside, everything's pretty much the same. It's hard to tell that this is a hybrid. Now, yes, there's the big digital instrument cluster, and the letters EV appear just above the clock when you are in full electric mode, but everything still looks the same, feels the same. Nice, decent sized steering wheel with a good amount, not too many, but a good amount of physical touch buttons. The new Outback does have some physical buttons, and I think the mid-cycle refresh for the Forester will see some of that, but for now it's the same, again, 11.6-inch portrait-style screen. I think Subaru's realized that, it may have been okay for a few years, but customer demands are changing, and here's hoping physical buttons show up here in the next couple of years. Let's get wrapped up with pricing and competition. So the MSRP for the Subaru Forester e-BOXER hybrid in Canada is $48,195, which is only $3,000 more than the gasoline version, which comes in at $45,195. So not that bad of a premium to go up. And again, according to Natural Resources Canada, it's $434 you're saving every year in fuel costs. So that's, is that 7-ish years before you're, I guess, quote unquote, broken even with it. But again, it depends on how you drive, how much of predictability you have when you drive, and how often you try and engage that fully electrical side of the hybrid. So that's just like a good baseline number from Natural Resources Canada. On the competition side, there's a lot. So there is the RAV4, the Sportage, the Tucson, the Escape, the Mazda CX-50, the obviously Honda CR-V. So there's no shortage of competition, and I think the Forester hybrid will do exceptionally well for Subaru. And, maybe this is the thing that a lot of Subaru buyers and potential buyers have been waiting for, a hybrid version of a Forester, because, they just want to have something other than gas. And no word yet on a plug-in hybrid. And yes, Subaru got rid of the Solterra, but they're bringing back the trail seeker EV. So there's a lot of things happening. But as far as I think core values go for maintaining drivability and having that off-road-ish capability as well, the Forester Hybrid is a wonderful alternative to the Forester gasoline. Again, it's only 3,000 Canadian MSRP more. The advantage in the States is you have 4 trims as opposed to the 1 trim we have here. I don't necessarily like it, but I understand it. And again, it would be thoroughly shocking if Subaru just kept going with only the top trim for the Subaru Hybrid being the premier, but we'll see what happens in the future. That's going to wrap it up for the 2025 Subaru Forester e-Boxer Hybrid. If you have any questions on what you've seen, let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to get back to you as soon as possible. And I always look forward to engaging in a respectful conversation online with you. I invite you to join our social media platforms. We are on all of the major ones. Without you, there's no modern motoring. So I thank you, I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.